Hi, it's Sarah Holmes here from Liverpool Hope University, and I'm researching at the moment how churches are getting on with their children's ministry in the middle of these crazy pandemic times and all of the restrictions that come along with that. And something that's coming up time and time again, if I think actually every single church I've spoken to has mentioned this, is the issue of relational connection and how can we help children to feel part of the wider faith community and the family of God. And it's a real problem because if you think about it, it could be 9 months to a year actually that children do not physically attend church. And actually, if they have been able to attend in the midst of some level of relaxing of the rules, it's not been quite the same as it normally would. So I do think we need to think about how can we help children to feel part of that faith community in these times. One of the things that's really, really great about church is the sense that if a child attends, they should feel that they're in a safe, secure place where they're surrounded by people who love one another, and we see that love in action. And also where they see people worshipping and praising God and being role models of faith, role models with a living prayer life and sharing testimonies of that together. So how can we replicate that within these restrictions and this online forum that we have? Well, I think if often you hear stories of adults who are texting to encourage one another, texting Bible verses together, or there's sharing things on church websites and so on to encourage one another and show love. But I don't know if the children are always involved in that. I don't know if they always see that. So I think all these things that are happening, we need to explicitly make sure that the children are seeing and that they are part of that. And so if we can encourage people to send encouraging Bible verses to children, and encourage children to send them to adults as well. And that might happen formally or informally, however it works best in your setting. But also thinking about acts of kindness and expressions of love, people dropping around flowers or cakes or encouraging cards or giving a phone call or things like that. Again, how can we encourage children in that and ensure that they're involved in that? I think that's really, really important that they see that happening and so that they are still feeling those expressions of love and care that are happening within our family of God. But also in terms of role models of faith, how can we do that still in these times? Well, some churches have been recording different members of the congregation, let's say 3 or 4 different people each week, just doing a short 2-minute section about something they've been praying about and how God's answered, or a Bible verse that's encouraged them, or what they think, how they would interpret a Bible verse or something, and then incorporating those little videos into the children's session that's happening. Or what about having, in terms of prayer life, how can we encourage children to be part of the prayer life of our church? Many churches have really good support networks prayer-wise, again for adults, but I'm not sure children are always involved. So how can we make sure that children know about prayer requests that are going on within the church, appropriate ones? Although actually I think the majority of prayer requests that are going around in churches actually are appropriate for children to know about and to pray with us about. But also, how can children actually feed in their prayer requests too? Maybe that's via the kids team. Maybe there's an email address they can send them to, or somewhere they can text to, or maybe there's a post box at church that they can post them into. But in some way, how can children feel part of this, the prayer network and the prayer support that's going on within your church? And thinking about how we explore the Bible together, discipleship. That's not to be done on our own. It's really to be done corporately and to support each other in that. So some churches are doing Zoom sessions, perhaps just a 10-15-minute session for different age groups. So one week, perhaps year 1 and 2, the next week, year 3 and 4, the next week, year 5 and 6, and rotating it round. So people are doing it every week. But just a short section where they can come together and say, okay, kids, here's a Bible passage. What does it mean to you? Perhaps we can have different members of the congregation explaining what a particular Bible passage means for them, so that actually children can see that actually we all have slightly different interpretations and understandings and experience of faith, and that helps them to see the richness and the validity of faith and also how it applies to each of us in our own context. I think that's really a powerful thing. But then also Do they have the ability to ask questions as part of that? So perhaps if you're doing these regular Zooms, or again, is there somewhere they can text their questions to, and you could send them a video back with some kind of answers, or you could do, if you have the time, like a one-to-one Zoom to answer those questions, but in some way to help them to have that forum to ask questions and to wonder together. In terms of other ways to support with discipleship, could you set challenges? So, we want everyone in the church to find 3 Bible verses showing how much God loves us. And your challenge is to see if you can find one that no one else can find. And do you have an online forum somehow that people could type them in, send them in, and they can all see, oh, that person's got the same one as me, but no one else has got this one, and that kind of challenge. But like I say, hearing from different people why those messages are important. Some people are recording people saying why that Bible passage is important to them. Again, are the kids included in that? And so in that sort of way, we can help the children to still be exploring, discovering truth of the Bible, but actually in a corporate way, and not just in a way which is the children, but also the wider family too. And then the final thing, I think, is opportunities to serve. It's been incredible to see the responses to sort of food bank appeals, or people who need medicines collecting or meals delivered. In these times, people want to help. And I think people are very frustrated that they're limited in how they can help. And kids actually want to be part of that. So how can we help the children to be part of that expression of serving and helping others, those opportunities? So perhaps they could be involved in delivering encouraging cards or flowers, or phoning someone up, or again sending encouraging messages, but in some way ensuring that children are part of it and that it's all visible so that children can see. And so I think in all of these sorts of ways, we can still be the church. We can still be an expression of God's love, an expression of journeying together in each of our journeys separately, but together. We can still do that, and we can still let children see that happening as a church community. So I hope that's been helpful. Well done for all that you're doing to support our children in their faith journeyings at this crazy, difficult, bizarre